it's about truth. It's about disclosure. It's about transparency. And if it means that I don't get my day in the spotlight, then that's okay, because it's not about that. It never was about that. I didn't leave the Department of Defense because I wanted my day in the spotlight. I left the Department of Defense, ironically enough, to finish the very mission they gave me in the first place. I didn't ask for it. I'm not a UFO guy. I'm not a ufologist. I never have been. I never will be. I'm a counterterrorism and counterespionage guy. I do counterintelligence, counterinsurgencies. That's what I do. And it just so happens that in 2008, I was asked to apply those same skill sets into the UFO community. But I'm not a UFO guy. And so for me, it's all about the truth. Whether I'm hunting a terrorist or a spy or a UFO, the bottom line is the truth is the truth. I'm a counterterrorism and counterespionage guy. I do counterintelligence, counterinsurgencies. That's what I do. And it just so happens that in 2008, I was asked to apply those same skill sets into the UFO community. The bottom line is the truth is the truth. I'm a counterterrorism and counterespionage guy. I do counterintelligence, counterinsurgencies. That's what I do. And it just so happens that in 2008, I was asked to apply those same skill sets into the UFO community. The bottom line is the truth is the truth. It just so happens that in 2008, I was asked to apply those same skill sets into the UFO community. The bottom line is the truth is the truth. I'm a counterterrorism and counterespionage guy. I do counterintelligence, counterinsurgencies. That's what I do. The bottom line is the truth is the truth. I'm a counterterrorism and counterespionage guy. I do counterintelligence, counterinsurgencies. That's what I do. The bottom line is the truth is the truth. It just so happens that in 2008, I was asked to apply those same skill sets into the UFO community. The bottom line is the truth is the truth.
The Central Intelligence Agency is set up to deceive. That's what their job is, in fact. Counterintelligence, Lue, counterintelligence means I have to lie. That's my job. So what is counterintelligence? What are some of the methods? That's something that the UFO field could study instead of people going off about, did Lue make a comment? That doesn't go anywhere. What is that going to do for you? Who cares about Lue Elizondo ultimately, except as a pawn of the CIA threat motion? Otherwise, it's just drivel, right? So, and how, it could be anybody. They could have gotten someone else instead in that program and dressed them up for the part. I don't think, it's not a special kind of assignment that they got for Lue. I just think that he kind of fit what they were doing, and they felt this is a guy who can pull it off. He's done a lot of counterintelligence. But I think what's important is, what is counterintelligence? Just in a nutshell, I need to deceive another country about what my activities are, militarily, espionage-wise, etc. And I need them to believe that something is happening that's totally different from what is actually happening. So I need to create a counter-narrative to the truth. That's counterintelligence. I need to lie to get people to believe. So therefore, Elizondo has a lot of experience. He's a professional liar. That's just a fact. And expecting the truth from people like that, or the Central Intelligence Agency, counterintelligence agents in general, is craziness. Whoever thought of such a thing? And so the way they've rolled it out and packaged it up and put a lot of money behind it and the media behind it, yes, but I think we've come past a phase, we are all kind of graduating in our own awareness. And this is pretty obvious, so this one is getting pretty wobbly.
Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back. I'm here tonight to do with a few things on my to-do list. The first is to remind people of some very important things. Since 2017, when Lue Elizondo and TTSA first came into the lexicon here, I was very, very critical. And we've talked about this before, and I'm sure we'll talk about it again. I paid a price for being so critical. And some of you can remember the rabid TTSA fanboys, as I called them, all over Twitter and other social media sites, who, if you dared to question the CIA spoon-fed narrative we were all being spoon-fed, including through major media sources like the New York Times, we were spoon fed. We were spoon fed a narrative with a purpose. It's very important that we realize some things. First of all, there was a purposeful effort, and Leslie Kean talked about this. She purposefully left out of her New York Times article all the stuff that would make this whole OSAP ATIP program look credible, right? Don't talk about the dino beavers. Don't talk about the werewolves that they were studying, the ghouls and the goblins and the ghosts. No, focus only on the UFO portion of the program. But the problem is there was no UFO program. We have seen that OSAP was paid money through Harry Reid, right? And that's another thing we'll get into tonight. Harry Reid gave his good friend Bob Bigelow a no-bid sweetheart deal contract for over $20 million. Bob Bigelow had previously been a big campaign contributor and supporter of Harry Reid. Suddenly, Harry Reid is handing out $20 million plus contracts with the government that nobody knew about or bid on. There was only one bidder, and that was Bob Bigelow's group. So we have all been manipulated. We have all been spoon-fed a carefully constructed narrative, and that's what it is, a carefully constructed narrative. This is not the truth. It is a construct, a matrix of half-truths, lies, deceptions, layers of deception, and more. And this is what we were spoon-fed, both by the mainstream media, and also, most disappointingly, we were spoon-fed the very same narrative by members of the alt media. In fact, I can count on one hand the members of the alt media who asked the same questions that I was asking since 2017. That would be, off the top of my head, Walter Bosley, certainly dark journalist. Thank him, and I want to thank him for letting me use a clip from his show. John from the Black Vault. There was Cal Korff, very, very critical of TTSA right from the very beginning. And I struggle to remember anyone else from our alt media that covers these topics that asked actual, real, important questions or were critical of the CIA spoon-fed narrative that they were shoveling at us for years now. Most disappointingly, so many members of the so-called UFO research community jumped right on board with that spoon-fed narrative. And those people should all have to answer some tough questions now, like Leslie Kean. Why did you manipulate us, Leslie? Why did you manipulate everyone in your article? Why did you purposefully leave out the parts of the truth that did not fit your agenda, Lue's agenda, Tom DeLonge's agenda, Hal Puthoff's agenda? Why would you purposefully leave that out unless your purpose was to manipulate everyone? As far as members of the alt media, it's very clear that people like Richard Dolan, the guy who interviews dead people to sell fake alien stories, the guy who calls a decorated Navy admiral a criminal so that he could sell fake alien stories, even though the Navy admiral said this story is horseshit. Richard Dolan has been pushing that dead horse up the hill for years now. He has made more money off of these fake Wilson documents than anybody. And I, for one, was happy that they mentioned the Wilson documents in this UFO hearing. Maybe somebody's going to start asking some questions, and people like wackadoo crackpot scientist Eric Davis, who has been sucking off the teat of paranormal and fringe science programs for the government for decades, will have to answer some questions under oath. I'd love to see Eric Davis tell us all about those Wilson documents under oath. So the members of the alt media, along with members of first we could talk about the mainstream media and how once that New York Times article dropped, it was as if hundreds of other news outlets simply copied and pasted everything in that article and reposted it, changed some words around to get past the copyright problems, rewrite it a little bit. Literally hundreds and hundreds of news agencies copied and pasted from that New York Times article and ran with the very, very same narrative. The narrative that we were being spoon fed, the narrative that Lue Elizondo was some kind of Pentagon whistleblower who quit in disgust because people weren't taking UFOs seriously enough. And he ran the government's secret UFO program. Except that program, as described by Lue Elizondo, never existed. It was never a funded program. He himself admitted in his IG complaint letter, he said, let's call it an activity, not a program. So AATIP, the last letter is P. Rest in peace, the P in AATIP. It wasn't a program. It was never a program, no matter how many media hacks copied and pasted from Leslie Kean's article in the New York Times and wanted this to be true. It isn't. There was no program. It was a nickname for another program that Lue Elizondo himself said he had nothing to do with OSAP. But then, of course, he contradicts himself and says, oh, no, I did have some interaction with Lukatsky, and he asked me to be the new security director at one point. I believe he later claimed that people told him that he should be the new OSAP program manager. The inconsistencies are absolutely, positively ridiculous here. And, but let's get back to, so we've covered how the mainstream media simply became an echo chamber, copying and pasting this CIA spoon-fed narrative. And how do we know it's a CIA spoon-fed narrative? We can go back to TTSA. Dark Journalist has pointed out, and I researched each of the board members, the original TTSA board members. And he is correct in pointing out that if you take all of the TTSA original board members and add up all their CIA and intelligence experience, it's 150 years of CIA and intelligence experience. So we're expected to believe that suddenly all of these former spooks and CIA people and former Lockheed people, defense contractor people, all of a sudden got together and said, we're going to bring about UFO disclosure, and we're going to bring people the truth about those aliens. And we're also going to build a spaceship with a revolutionary power source that's going to change the world. Invest in our company today. And then they delivered squat that they promised. Friends, if you or I had stood on a stage and promised investors of our new company a spaceship and then never delivered on the spaceship and just stole $2 million from the public based on we're building a spaceship, we would be in jail. We would be prosecuted. It's my speculation, but it's fair and informed speculation that there's a reason that no one from TTSA to this day has been prosecuted for what is essentially been called a techno scam. You tell people you have this amazing technology, invest in our company. We are going to change industries because this spaceship will let you fly from New York to Los Angeles in an hour. If that technology existed and a company created that, the investors in that company would become rich beyond their wildest dreams because it would affect the transportation industry. It would affect air travel. It would affect cars. It would affect trucking and how goods. It would affect shipping. Everything, the entire global economy would be revitalized with this new amazing technology that Tom DeLonge, Hal Puthoff, Steve Justice, and of course, Lue Elizondo was in on that, right? That technology would change the entire world. That's what they promised, world-changing technology that would change the world, a revolutionary power source. And they delivered nothing. The investors in TTSA, to this day, I have yet to find a single person that even got their original investment money back or got any dividends. It would appear that Tom DeLonge and TTSA members, they all made money, but none of the investors did. So my speculation is that one of the reasons that no one was prosecuted is because look at the class of people that was involved with that. People with all of this CIA experience, all of these former government spooks. Maybe, just maybe, the government didn't want to prosecute them and put them under oath. If TTSA was truly a DOD or CIA PSYOP, it stands to reason that it's a PSYOP. They're not going to prosecute people for doing the stuff in the PSYOP. That's part of the plan. You do the PSYOP. I still struggle with the reason for the PSYOP, but we can think of many different reasons. First of all, there is what I believe could be called actionable intelligence, that many of our adversaries are operating drones within our airspace. And the government has called them UFOs, not drones. Friends, there could be many reasons why a DOD or CIA PSYOP could be generated. And we also need to look into history, because there has been several times when we can prove with substantial and supportive evidence that the government has injected people into the UFO community for one reason or another. The most notable examples I could think of is Richard Doty, right? And who was it that's one prominent UFO researcher and Roswell author once stood on a stage at a UFO conference and admitted that he had been feeding information to the government on different researchers, people within the UFO community, what people were talking about, what people were, researching, what pictures people had, what conclusions people were drawing, right? So there's two prominent examples where the United States government has injected people into the UFO community to spy on the UFO community, to find out what we know, to manipulate people's opinions. In the case of Richard Doty, in the famous Benowitz case, he was seeing top secret drone technology being tested. But they sent Richard Doty with all kinds of fake evidence to convince this poor man. By the way, Richard Doty literally drove him crazy in that PSYOP. Benowitz was manipulated to believe that what he was seeing was alien technology, alien visitors, not early top secret drone technology being tested right near his home. So if we have two prominent examples, provable examples, there's no debate here, at least twice that we're aware of, I believe many more times, the United States government has sent people to manipulate people in the UFO community for one reason or another. Richard Doty also famously manipulated Linda Moulton Howe, and I once did an interview with him, and he laughed about it. He laughed about how gullible and easy and stupid she was, how easy she was to fool into believing whatever alien narrative he would put in front of her. So maybe that's three examples, but two individuals that were sent into the UFO community to be disruptors of sorts, spies, to manipulate the opinions, to manipulate the UFO community into certain beliefs, or to manipulate people seeing UFOs into believing what the government wanted them to believe. This is classic misdirection. Look here, not here. Stop looking for top secret SAPs, special access programs, or USAPs, even more secret, unacknowledged special access projects. Stop looking for those. Don't look for the top secret technology that we're developing and testing right under your nose. Go chasing aliens. So we see prominent examples of the government having done this in the past. So is it any surprise that some people are calling TTSA and Lue Elizondo a DOD or CIA PSYOP? we heard in the video I released earlier today and in the introduction to this broadcast, Counter Intel Lue literally admitting that in 2008, the Department of Defense asked him to employ his counterintelligence skills on the UFO community. He said it in his own words. In 2008, the Department of Defense asked me to employ my counterintelligence skills into the UFO community. Now, because of his statement, and one could speculate why exactly did Lue Elizondo, on his way out the door, I mean, was that a Freudian slip? Did he just say, I've had enough of this? And also, you should all be aware that when someone who is a psyop against an adversary, let's say, and we'll call the UFO community the adversary and the media the adversary, once that asset gets found out or discovered or is no longer effective at the psychological operation being undertaken, at the manipulation that they are trying to accomplish against members of the media or the UFO community or whoever it may be, the psyop drops them and they get somebody new. So we should all keep an eye out for the next Lue, because I am telling you, Lue's going to be dropped. Lue is going to become just another UFO grifter like Richard Dolan, Nick Pope, Linda Moulton Howe, Jimmy Church, and all of the other, mainstay stars at the UFO conference circuit. Lue will become just another Linda Moulton Howdy Doody, just another Richard likes to interview dead people Richard likes to interview dead people Dolan, right? Richard Doscam. He's going to become another frequent guest on Fade to Bullshit with Jimmy Needs Church, right? I mentioned as well, it's one thing to be disappointed in the mainstream media, but I'm extremely disappointed in the so-called alt media, who they played along. They played along with the spoon-fed CIA, DOD, PSYOP, whatever it was, narrative that they were being spoon-fed. Richard Dolan went right along with it. Linda Moulton Howe, great. This is great. We're going to get disclosure from Lue Elizondo. And Tom DeLonge, as Tom DeLonge and Lue Elizondo were scamming the public out of some $2 million for a spaceship they promised that they would never produce. And let's see, we have Jimmy Needs Church, right? How many times did Jimmy Church interview Elizondo? Never asked him the right questions. So not only have we been let down because none of them did their job by the mainstream media, but we were let down by the alt media, who largely, all of these people, Nick Pope, Leslie Keene, George Knapp, I believe, but George Knapp has made a turn, right? He went with Lukatsky to get to the real story. But at first, George Knapp was all chips in on this TTSA thing, right? Jimmy Church, all of the most prominent members of the so-called UFO community jumped right into this spoon-fed narrative of garbage. Nobody asked the right questions, with very few exceptions. Nobody asked the right questions. Nobody questioned the narrative. And that, my friends, is very, very troubling. And I think that those people should be held to account for their incredible failure, because now we have reached a point where the house of cards is crumbling. It's falling. It feels like a Jenga game. Anybody play Jenga? You know, when you pull out that piece that topples the whole thing? It's going to take one more piece to topple the Lue Elizondo garbage narrative that he has been spoon-feeding us all since 2017. I've heard someone describe Lue Elizondo's downfall as a death by 1,000 cuts, which is somewhat accurate, because there hasn't been like one huge major revelation that proves that he lied to everyone. It's been these little things that just keep coming out over time, right? Little by little by little. Oh, the Pentagon says he had no assigned responsibilities for AATIP, right? He wasn't the director of AATIP. And then we have Lue himself really contributing to his own downfall by doing things like going, well, yeah, I use sock puppet accounts. I'm an intelligence guy. And hey, what if I called your mother a hooker? Rather be squidding. It's so ridiculous. He has been his own worst enemy at times. And now, lately, we get this recent revelation that he is actively passing around lists of people that are critical of him that he's calling felons, right? He's calling them felons, critics. By the way, I'm on the list, but nobody, it doesn't call me a felon. But the text of body that was released, it basically says my critics are either felons or they're mentally unstable, right? So pick your poison. I'm not a felon. I guess I'm one of those mentally unstable people. And I just want to tell CIA Lue, listen, buddy, if I'm mentally unstable, um, yeah, I would think that would be a problem, right? Maybe I'm not so mentally unstable. In fact, maybe I am more stable than the people that you have been spoon feeding your garbage narrative to since 2017. Stable enough to stand back and say, this doesn't make sense. And I'm going to ask some more questions. And why would this bitter, angry little man not just answer the questions? Why, it's a classic case, my friends, of kill the messenger. He cannot withstand hard questions. So what does he do? He does exactly what he did this last podcast. He said, this is my last podcast. Yeah, he goes on a podcast with less than 1,000 subscribers who gushed over him. We're huge fans of yours. We are huge fans of yours. Literally, the host of that show opened telling him what huge fan he is, right? So he goes to the kind podcasts, the podcasts that are not going to ask him any questions, the ones that will do the UFO circle jerk. And by the way, this Calling All Beings did quite possibly the biggest UFO circle jerk with him I've ever seen. Let's all introduce ourselves to Lue and let's all have a good time. There's important questions to be asked. What a failure of a show host that guy is. What a UFO circle jerk, nothing nonsense that guy is. Because he gets, and there's another issue with that guy. Another reason why Lue Elizondo went on his podcast is because he would agree to turn the comments and the live chat off. Because Lue Elizondo is such a bitter, angry, scared little man that he cannot withstand people in a live chat on a live stream being critical of him. Mr. Army guy, right? Counterintelligence guy. Some say Gitmo interrogator or intelligence officer. He can't withstand questions in a live chat. He can't withstand people commenting on a video where he does an interview, asking questions or being critical of him. So he has to force the host, look, I'll do your show, but you got to turn off the comments and you got to turn off the live chat because I'm too much of a coward to withstand criticism. This is a huge problem. So I'm going to share a few things. I'm going to put up my fair use banner. I thought this was very, very interesting. And I think Kate Schneider, who sent me this, I had no idea, but apparently, one second. Yeah, apparently Megyn Kelly, of all people, asked him a hard question and he was ready for it. Oh, we're going to watch this. This is great. So let me find my fair use banner. We're going to be sharing a video. This is I hate sharing large media files because I always have to file. They always hit you with the copyright and then you have to file all this stuff. So this is a transformative work. We're educating the public. We're critiquing the video we are sharing. And this is certainly covered under fair use and is allowable by law. So Lue Elizondo recently did an interview with Megyn Kelly, who was well up on Stephen Greenstreet's recent piece for the New York Post and the Basement Office. And I just think this piece is interesting because he's right ready with a defense. And it's the Harry Reid, it's the dead man defense, right? The dead man defense. Isn't it convenient that the only confirmation that he ran a program called AATIP comes from Harry Reid, the same guy who gave the $22 million to his buddy Bob Bigelow in a sweetheart no bid contract. That's the guy that's going to, back up Lue Elizondo. And by the way, rest in peace, but Harry Reid happens to be dead. So nobody can ask him, now that we have new revelations, that AATIP never existed as a program. Even from Lue himself said it wasn't a program, it was an activity. We cannot go to Harry Reid and ask for clarification of that letter. I would challenge Lue Elizondo, get us a letter from a living senator that we can clarify things with, that you ran a program called AATIP. You're going to sit there on Megyn, you're going to sit there on a big interview and claim and still stick to your guns. Yeah, I was the director of this AATIP program. Harry Reid said so. There are conflicting statements that say that program never existed. You yourself said it wasn't a program. It was a activity, but Harry Reid called it a program. Oh, it just gets more ludicrous and more ludicrous. So I've got this queued up here. This is from the Megyn Kelly show.
All right, quick question for you on this program AATIP that you've been mentioning, because there was a New York Post report kind of raising questions about this program and your role in it recently. Yeah. And they released a video claiming that this program AATIP was just a nickname for a program called OSWAP or something like AAWSAP, OSAP. And that it wasn't really a program you led until after the funding had been cut, and that this program, this OSAP, was kind of out there, that they were investigating something called the Skinwalker Ranch in Utah, known for paranormal type activities. And they were basically trying to suggest, I think, that the Skinwalker Ranch is not quite as exciting as the projects you've been discussing.
Oh yeah, this is great. So I am not a fan of Megyn Kelly, but the fact that she even knew about Greenstreet's work and how the House of Lue Elizondo cards is coming crashing down and asked him this, I think is great.
And maybe wasn't quite as legitimate. And that you kind of are overstating your role to legitimize UFOs. How do you respond to that?
Well, yeah, I would say, first of all, if you're into tabloid news, and read the tabloids. I'd rather get it from the source. So in front of me, I have a letter. Show your audience. It is from Senator Harry Reid. Yeah, so
he's caught, right? He knew that she might ask him, right? Or somebody might ask him about Stephen Greenstreet's recent expose, making him look like a foolish liar. So he's got the dead man defense letter from the guy who gave his friend the $22 million sweetheart deal. And even Senator Harry Reid has released conflicting statements, and we'll look at that in a moment. But isn't it convenient that he's got the dead man defense letter? Hey, Lue Elizondo, we can't clarify things now that we can't get Harry Reid's comments now that Stephen Greenstreet report is out that makes you look like a foolish liar.
Who was the actual sponsor of this program with his official letterhead, as you can see here. And I'll just read just a short portion for you, and then I'll let you decide. As one of the original sponsors of AATIP, I can state as a matter of record Lue Elizondo's involvement and leadership role in this program. Mr. Elizondo is a former intelligence officer, has spent his career working tirelessly in the shadows on sensitive national security matters, including investigating UAPs as the head of AATIP.
Okay, right there, Harry Reid is lying. Because remember, Lue Elizondo said that he ran the Pentagon's UFO program for 10 years. Harry Reid in this letter is saying that Lue Elizondo investigated UFOs. Friends, UAPs or UFOs. Friends, if that were the case, there would be a mountain of paperwork. There would be a mountain of paperwork if he actually got up from a desk and went somewhere and investigated anything. There is no substantial or supportive evidence. In fact, there's no evidence that Lue Elizondo ever investigated any UFO case ever, period. There's no paperwork. There's no paper trail. There's no reports with his name on it. There's no witness testimony. There's no witnesses coming forward saying that Lue Elizondo interviewed them about their sightings. None. There would be a mountain of paperwork if this man investigated UFOs or UAPs for the Pentagon. I believe that he never did. I believe that it's part of the PSYOP. You got to invent a figurehead and a mouthpiece. That's what CIA Lue is here. He is the mouthpiece of this PSYOP. And it's all coming crashing down. And, you know, I've talked to a few different people that know about counterintelligence and counterintelligence, you know, operations, who told me that when a mouthpiece or figurehead of an op starts becoming no longer effective, they get worried and they desperately try to do damage control or whatever they have to do to keep their effectiveness at the op going, so that they keep their, I suppose, position within the government op. They know they're going to get dropped.
He performed these duties admirably. This is the guy who owned a program. So this is the gentleman who
what was the date of that?
It with. It is April 26th, 2021. And I'll tell you what, I'm just going to hold it up for you so you can see it. And I don't know if that helps, but signed Harry Reid.
Yeah, one of the original sponsors of AATIP. In other words, the guy who gave his buddy Bob Bigelow and his other friends a sweetheart $20 million plus deal, who is dead now and cannot comment on all the recent revelations coming out that confirm, more or less confirm, that Lue Elizondo lied through his teeth. There was no program called AATIP. There was no funding for a program called AATIP. There was not a single report. There was not a single shred of paper. There is no paperwork trail proving that he was a director of any Pentagon UFO program. And in fact, if you look into OSAP, it wasn't a Pentagon UFO program. It was a Nutter program. If you ask me, they're looking into werewolves and dino beavers and Skinwalker Ranch, right, which Bob Bigelow owned at one point.
Sure.
So,
well, and I have to say that Politico came out and the reporter there said that they there's no surprise. They said that you've never lied. I still consider him a credible source.
That was Brian Bender, who walked back a previous statement saying that he had been purposefully misled by Lue Elizondo. Brian Bender first came out and said he had been purposefully misled by Lue Elizondo and company, and so had others, right? And I don't know, later walked it back and said, well, he's still a credible source. I don't know that he lied to me intentionally. It's a walk back. It is a walk back. All right, I gotta check in here. I'm gonna check in with the live chat. I want to thank Joshua Godson for kind of generous $5 super chat. Says we need to figure out his true motive. He is counterintelligence, so what's he really trying to do? I'm gonna start looking into that, Joshua. That is definitely on my list of things to do. I want to thank you and all the kind and generous benefactors of our show, kind and generous people throwing some pledges in to help us do this good work. Remember that many, many people in this so-called field, many of our alt media people made tons of money not asking the questions I'm asking tonight. I lost money for asking the questions tonight. I'm a data guy, Joshua, and I can show you every time I've done a show that is very critical of Lue Elizondo, I lose subscribers. It's very clear. People don't like to, it's hard. The real truth is a hard pill to swallow for many people. And I get it. People wanted to believe that this guy was some kind of UFO messiah, but we've all seen it before, right? We've all seen that UFO messiah come along and promise us disclosure is going to be here. We're going to get disclosure. We're going to force the government to tell us their secrets, and then nothing ever happens. We get nothing burger after nothing burger. So that's, sad and unfortunate, but I appreciate very much people who are throwing a couple of bucks in my hat to help us continue the show here. Thank you, Joshua. And also thanks to Karen Rocha. I hope I'm saying that right. Karen, who gave a $5 super chat that I somehow missed yesterday. So thank you both for helping us to praise the cash, friends.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
Thank you very, very much. So we're going to continue in our discussion here. I said, there was a few things on my to-do list tonight. One of them was to sort of remind people of just how many people in the so-called UFO community or alt media community failed us entirely by jumping. Some of these people jumped right onto this TTSA Lue Elizondo narrative in order to make money, right? It was popular. Somebody telling me that Pix has been blocked. I didn't block him. I haven't seen him around in a while, though, so makes sense. Maybe somebody blocked him for something stupid he said. One of the mods can unblock him, or I don't know that. Yeah, I don't know about that. All right, so my other purpose here tonight is going to be to remind people that there were some good researchers that got things right from the very start, that asked the right questions, that were critical of this spoon-fed narrative that we were all being spoon-fed. Oh, Pix is here. He said, I'm not blocked. All right, good to see you, Pix. I haven't seen you around in a while. Pix is one of those people that loves to argue with me, so I'm sure that he has some thoughts on how wrong I am today. But I maintain that I have asked the, Goofon saying only I can unblock somebody. Well, that's probably a good thing, because if somebody's, quite honestly, we go out of our way to provide a free speech zone here. So it takes an awful lot to get blocked here, right? It takes an awful lot. Look at this, the Josh and Artemis show. I always feel funny when another show hosts send me money, right? You don't have to do that, but thank you. It says, keep up the great work, Steve. We need more critical minds in this field. Well, I appreciate your kindness, your generosity, and your support. And I, for one, for those that don't know, Josh and Artemis, I'm not saying that they were on the Lue train, but they kind of were on the, on the wrong side of things for a while. I'm glad to see them come into the light and start asking real hard questions. And we all need more. Yeah, you're right. We need more critical minds in the field. We need more people that are going to ask questions, not accept the bullshit narratives that we are being spoon-fed. But thank you very much, both to Josh and Artemis. I'm sure Artemis has Josh chained up right now, or he would be here, I don't know. Yeah. Poor guy. Some poor guy from England, right? He came over here to visit her, and she chained the guy in his basement. Yeah. But thank you for helping us to praise the cat.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your generosity. Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
Yeah, I just ordered some stuff to do some new bumpers. The Cash Clan wants some money, and I'm trying to teach him. For those that are not aware, I try to teach him that there's a value to money, and you don't just get things for free. So once in a while, I put him to work here. Off air, of course, he has no idea what happens on the show. He just will stand there on a green screen or something and dress up and help me thank people for their kindness, their generosity, and support. And it really is good for him, because in the past couple of weeks, I've bought him a bunch of video games. He got a bunch of new games and things like that. So, and that's interesting, because there's another show host. I mentioned this several times. I'm going to keep mentioning it. There's another show host who has 4 or 5 slaves working for him for free. I got a 5-year-old that works for me, and he gets paid. I'm just putting that out there. Maybe that other show host that screws everybody should take my example. I even pay a 5-year-old to work for me. He does not work here for free. He gets paid, and he, will say, okay, well, I have this. You gave me this much money, Daddy. What can I buy? Or we take him to the toy store, and he buys his own toys or video games or whatever he wants from the money that he is earning. But I don't think it's fair that I should have to compete with some guy that's got 4 or 5 slaves working for him for free, another show host, right? I got to compete with a guy that's got 4 or 5 slaves. That ain't fair. So we're taking applications. I'm going to start my own slave labor sweatshop force, Truth Seeker Sweatshop Slaves. And you're all going to work for free, and I'm going to keep all of the money, because that's fair, right? All right. So there's one other thing that I wanted to do, and that is to remind people that there were some good people that were on the right side of this thing. And before I do this, I want to make sure that I'm very, very clear. Once in a while, when I say, hey, I like these researchers, people ask me, and I try not to say what researchers or people that I like or trust because people misconstrue that. My point is, just because I agree with them on certain things doesn't mean I agree with them on everything that they talk about. So please don't misconstrue it. But I'm sure that I more than agree with these two on most things. So I wanted to remind everyone that this is an interview from 3 years ago, and it's from DJ. I call him DJ. I don't know, dark journalist, and John Greenwald. And somebody sent me this recently because I was talking about very few people were asking the right questions at the start of this thing and listen, it took courage for them because just like me, people attacked them for asking these questions. People attacked them for not going with the we're getting disclosure any day now narrative. And honestly, I remember back then it was extremely lonely. And after a while, I just said, I'm not going to talk about TTSA or Lue Elizondo or any of these people anymore, because every time I do, my inbox fills up with hate mail. I get all these sock puppets tweeting nasty shit at me, even threatening me. Like, that's how heated and gross this got. But I wanted to remind everybody, we're just going to play a short portion of this, but I am going to put my fair use banner. I don't, it's funny, that saying, like, it's better to beg forgiveness than ask permission. I didn't know if DJ Dark Journalist would be okay with me using this clip, so I just did it earlier, and then I sent a message to his girl and said, I hope he's okay with that, because he said that so much better than I could, and he was. So, but this is fair use. This is transformative work. I just want to recognize that some people got it right. And look at this title even. Look at this title. Oh my God. This is 3 years ago. The date of this is, let's see, April 27th, 2019, 3 years ago. And the title is To the Stars, AATIP, CIA UFO Disclosure, Elizondo and DeLong. And this is with John, Dark Journalist, and John from the Black Vault. Yeah, actually, I just want to mention too that I'm kind of pissed off because Dark Journalist can get an interview with John Greenwald, but I've asked 10 times and I can't. So what's that about?
Hi, this is Dark Journalist. Today I have a special show for you on the CIA takeover of the UFO file narrative. Our special guest is John Greenwald from the Black Vault. Now, John has been tracking the statements put on the public record by the To the Stars Academy, or TTSA, and its founders, former senior intelligence agent Lue Elizondo and ex-Blink-182 singer Tom DeLonge. Now, John has constructed an in-depth timeline of obfuscation, inconsistencies, and outright falsehoods in the TTSA's narrative about the Advanced Aerial Threat Identification Program, or AATIP. With its top...
I also just want to mention that when Dark Journalist did this, and when John Greenwald started putting out this stuff that contradicted all of what Tom DeLonge and Lue Elizondo were saying, nobody really wanted to hear it. Even in the alt community and the UFO community, people were like, nope, everybody put their blinders on. It's like that statue with the three monkeys, like see no evil, hear no evil. The people literally would just, I don't want to hear it. No, I love TTSA and I love Tom DeLonge and I love Lue Elizondo, and I'm not going to hear anything negative about them. And it's unfortunate that more people did not listen to these two, me, Cal Korff, Walter Bosley, Joseph Farrell, Dr. Farrell, I think, was one of those people as well, that was very critical of this CIA spoon-fed narrative at the time. And nobody wanted to hear it back then. But we're going to hear it now because it's amazing how right they were.
Top tier dominated by CIA officials, the question must be asked, is the TTSA just a new government front in the war on truth and the UFO file? Let's go ask John Greenwald. John, it's great to have you here for our in-depth discussion on the TTSA and the UFO file. Now, before we get started, I know you have a new book out on the Black Vault and the work that you've been doing for the past 2 decades. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
This is my first big release. I mean, this is very, very cool. It was highlighted in a big UK book, a book exposition that they had over there, and Roman and Littlefield profiled. I think there was a total of 10 books out of the hundreds and hundreds that they have.
Right.
And mine was on all of their media and big graphics and stuff like that. And then even in their catalog, when they started listing books, I'm on the first page. So and again, the catalog is, 60 plus pages of book after books after book. And for them, again, to put that kind of backing and belief in it for this topic is huge.
Oh yeah, we can definitely observe a sea change taking place there. Now, your site, theblackvault.com, is an excellent resource for documents and has actually been cited by major news organizations in connection with various UFO stories. They've also used it for things like MKUltra research docs to support these breaking stories as well.
Yeah, I mean, UFOs obviously has always been the most popular topic, but the Black Vault doesn't only deal with that. And in December of 2018, quite a bit of media publicity came about for documents that I got on MKUltra and the MKUltra experiments.
Yeah, I just want to mention that I have been going to the blackvault.com since probably the first year or two that it was in operation. And people should be aware that John has been at this since he was 14 years old. I mean, that's dedication. What was I doing? When I was 14, I was playing with samplers and music and synthesizers. And he was beating up the government at 14 and 15 years old, trying to get secret documents out of them. And that's amazing.
Well, it's amazing. This program,
there you go.
So well hidden by the CIA, which then Director Helms admitted to destroying the files on, was truly inhuman, with psychological torture and programming of individuals. It's one of the darkest chapters in American history, and the CIA continues to block access to that information now, right up to the present day.
Yeah, it was quite a revelation for me, because it shows the lengths, even though I already knew this, but it shows the lengths that agencies like the CIA will go to cover everything up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he got some 4,000 documents or something like that. But remember that they destroyed almost all of them. So as shocking as the documents he got were, imagine what got burnt or shredded or destroyed.
Yes.
And they will tell you things that are blatantly not true.
Well, with the CIA, that's exactly what we've seen repeatedly, this deceptive pattern. And that leads us into everything that's been going on around the UFO file, and in particular, the To the Stars Academy, or TTSA, where the CIA actually is out front, taking a lead role in this corporation. And former CIA people are literally at the top tier ranks of this organization. Now, you've done some breakthrough research here.
I would like to see that picture again, but with them all, with all of their mug shots for the techno scam and the $2 million that I believe was allegedly, I'm just going to use that term, allegedly collected from investors and then spent on whatever they wanted, right? No investors got any of their money back, to my knowledge so far. If you have invested in TTSA, please email me at truthseekershow@gmail.com. I have put out that call many, many times. I'm looking for somebody that invested in TTSA that can tell us how much they invested and how much money they got back from their investment. Right now, Tom DeLonge from TTSA is continuing in that TTSA investor thing and soliciting people for more public investment.
Here, that's very revealing. You've created a detailed timeline of the AATIP program. That's the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, so touted by TTSA and run by one of its founders, Senior Counterintelligence Agent Lue Elizondo.
Yeah.
Now, just a brief outline here. TTSA is something that Tom DeLonge, the former Blink-182 singer, founded along with Lue Elizondo, former intelligence officer, with the idea being that a bunch of CIA spooks and Lockheed Martin guys are going to make UFO disclosure easy as pie. And they have entertainment divisions for TV shows, and they raised over $2 million in a stock sale. And they came out with a major announcement introducing the corporation in October 2017.
That's correct, yeah.
Now, initially, as I understand it, you were very enthusiastic and very open-minded about what they were claiming they were going to do.
Yeah.
But this...
Yeah, I do remember that John was sort of on the, well, this could be a great thing for the UFO community, and with all of their experience, they may be able to pry more out of the government than somebody like me with FOIA could, like a regular citizen could, because they have all these connections within the government and they still know people. But once he began digging, I think that he did a complete 180, and that 180 has continued to this day. Now I would place him as being one of the biggest critics of TTSA and Lue Elizondo. And in fact, he's on the list, he was on the list of the Felon 5 that Lue Elizondo is passing around. And he's also on the list of I think there's a new list now, and it's like the 55 felons, right? He's on that list as well, and so am I.
AATIP program that Elizondo claimed to be in charge of, and which was revealed by an article in the New York Times on December 16th, 2017. Many inconsistencies arose almost immediately about this AATIP program, with conflicting statements by the TTSA and their associates, to the point where now you've said that AATIP is, in terms of actual facts, only a rumored UFO program.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to give a quick background, you're absolutely right. I was encouraged. I was enthused by the October press conference. Not because I wanted to be an investor in TTSA. That part actually wasn't of interest to me. It was, and I wanted to follow it. But I mean, I didn't really care to say, I'm going to give the $200 to be a stockholder, which is what they were looking for. They put a man up there, Lue Elizondo, who said that he had headed this unidentified aerospace threat program, I believe is what his original quote was. He never said AATIP in October of 2017, never gave the definition of the acronym. It was just a rough overview of what this threat identification program was.
Yeah, and it's important to note that he may have purposefully withheld the name of the program that he ran at first to prevent people like John, from filing the FOIA request asking for documents about it. You need exact terminology to file these FOIAs.
So I had, in October of 2017, filed FOIA requests, being very encouraged that I might find something that, supported what Mr. Elizondo was saying. Quite the contrary, I was given denials that the agency that Mr. Elizondo said he worked at said, no, we have nothing on a program like that. Now, some people, and let me address this up front. Some skeptics out there say, well, you didn't have the name. You just said it yourself. And you're absolutely right. What I did was I used the testimony and the descriptions from Mr. Elizondo himself, citing him by name, saying this is how he described the program. So the way the FOIA works is it really kind of doesn't matter when you have that in-depth detail from somebody who worked on the program. But let's give it the benefit of the doubt that's why they gave a no records. I don't believe it. That's not how the FOIA works. But let's move on. December 2017, New York Times, Politico, avalanche of media publicity started talking about this AATIP program, which was the same thing Mr. Elizondo talked about in October. Now we have a name. So I had filed an appeal saying, hey, look, now we have a name. Let's, search for records.
Yeah. And to his credit, I just want to mention, I encourage everybody to file a FOIA request at least once so that you could see, first of all, how long it takes to get any response. And second of all, it's not easy work, and it is boring. To me, it's boring as shit. I don't know how he does it. And he refuses to take no for an answer. Every time they tell him we don't have any records, he files appeals and another appeal or whatever he has to do to continue to push them. And it's interesting that you almost have to push the government. You have to force their hand. It's been called the Freedom of Information Act, but I've always called it the freedom. I've always called it the freedom to get what we want you to get act. If they really don't want to give it, they make excuses. They say we have no records, we can't locate anything relevant to your request. John does not take no for an answer. They tell him no, and then he comes back and he goes, okay, try it this way with these terms, do your search again. And I don't know, I have a lot of respect for him being so determined and unwilling to take no from a government official.
So I'll put a pin in that story right there. At the same time, I was working on a History Channel show. I work as a writer, producer, and director, janitor, whatever comes my way. And so I was able to pick up the telephone and call the public affairs office. And so when I asked them about this, advanced, what at first was reported as the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program, Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, she corrected me and she says, no, it's aviation. So it's Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program. That started in my mind, like, why are these discrepancies there? Like, I mean, it's a simple name. I couldn't, figure that part out.
And again, I would suggest that people purposefully gave the wrong words for that AATIP acronym to prevent people from finding anything with FOIA. If you are calling it the wrong name, John got lucky getting somebody on the phone who clarified what the actual name was. I almost said what the name of the program was, but again, now we know there was no program. It was a nickname for another program.
And it had kind of snowballed into much more of a debate than I think was worthy. There were many more pressing issues in my mind that came up, but that started dialogue between me and the Office of Secretary of Defense, trying to unravel what Mr. Elizondo was saying and what the Pentagon was saying. And as the months unfolded and the FOIA responses were coming in, nothing was matching up. That no records response stood until about 3 weeks ago, and I won that appeal. It took that long to win the appeal, and that's a big victory, no matter what your thoughts are on AATIP. But that being said, the Office of Secretary of Defense said anything related to the AATIP program is under the Defense Intelligence Agency or the DIA. They're the ones that will release everything. And so there's been thousands of FOIA requests that are in the backlog of the DIA. So sadly, there is a huge delay in getting documents.
Yeah, it could take you years to get documents from a FOIA request. That's what sucks about it. We need reform on the FOIA system.
And so it's a little bit of a waiting game at this point on whether or not this is truly a UFO program. Or not. But I will say that the Pentagon, despite the name debacle, because the DIA gives one name, the Pentagon gives another name. Again, that second word, aviation versus aerospace. So we have a discrepancy there, which again is very, very small.
And also, it's important to note that that discrepancy appeared in major media as well. Some media outlets used the term aerospace. Some media outlets used the term aviation. And this is part of what I believe is evidence of a PSYOP or an operation, a counterintelligence operation taking place. They purposefully muddy the waters, even with little things like that. For one reason or another, I believe it was to prevent FOIA requests.
A bigger question is whether or not this program was truly what Mr. Elizondo said it was, if it's being embellished wildly, or if possibly there are UFO aspects to it, but not because of the government. But
yeah, that's a great statement, and see how right he got it. Maybe, he said here and at the time, maybe this story from Elizondo is just wildly embellishing what that program was. We now know that that program didn't exist. It was an unclassified nickname for another program that Lue Elizondo himself said he had zero anything to do with. So, yeah, these guys got it right back then. These guys were asking the right questions, and they took the slings and arrows, just like me and a few other people who were raising these questions and getting attacked viciously just for asking the questions about these inconsistencies.
rather the private contractor through Bigelow Aerospace's BASS LLC that actually won the contract. So there is a lot to unravel here. And for Tom DeLonge, Luis Elizondo, them saying that they were cleared to talk about this, and people on the inside want us to know, on the surface, that sounds great. When you scratch underneath the surface, all of a sudden you get this wildly different story and denial, not only through the Freedom of Information Act, but also the public affairs offices, that's not the reality of it. So is the government lying? Possibly.
Nope.
Is Mr. Elizondo lying? Possibly.
Yep.
But there are too many people at this point that are just doing what I call blind allegiance or blind belief into something that potentially is not 100% of the story. So not to babble on too long, but what I did is I created a timeline, and I tried to make sense out of all of the various speeches, lectures, press statements, and so on, primarily from To the Stars Academy, but I do add in, the few trickles of information that's come from the government, and put it all on a timeline. And it is an absolute mess.
Yeah, and it's interesting to point out that not only was the terminology wrong in both mainstream and alt media coverage, but the dates were all wrong. When did the program start? When did the program end? How much funding did the program have? All of these details were wrong. And we have to remember that the main source for the New York Times article was Lue Elizondo. So why is he giving them inaccurate dates, inaccurate terminology, inaccurate information? He's the main source here.
You could take the government out of the equation 100%. Just ignore everything that the government said and use only Mr. Luis Elizondo, Dr. Hal Puthoff. I don't use outside of that with To the Stars Academy, simply because those are the two names that were directly involved with the program. And the media outlets that I only used were the direct contacts with Mr. Elizondo, Dr. Puthoff, meaning these were the journalists that were working directly with the people that worked on AATIP, and it's still a mess.
Yeah, they got it all wrong because they were given inaccurate information by these people, Lue Elizondo, by TTSA people. They were the sources that were pumping the false misinformation and disinformation for their own agenda into the mainstream media. And that's a very important thing that we have to remember and consider, that these people purposefully and willfully misled members of the media about what the program was, when it started, when it ended, what the program did, who ran the program, what the program did. Lue Elizondo says he investigated UFOs. Show me a report of him investigating a UFO case. Show me a report of him interviewing witnesses to UFO events. They don't exist. Members of the media, including Stephen Greenstreet of the New York Post and recently Brian Bender of Politico, have both said that they were willfully and purposefully misled by TTSA, by Tom DeLonge, by Lue Elizondo, primarily Lue Elizondo. Lue Elizondo was a primary source of all of this misinformation and disinformation, and we now know that it was misinformation, disinformation, half-truths, embellishments, and more. Very important that we hold his feet to the fire. Why did he lie to the New York Times? Why did he lie to Leslie Kean, apparently? Why did Leslie Kean manipulate the story? She knew that the program, the Pentagon program that got the $22 million, was investigating Skinwalker. She left that out of the report purposefully. All of them perhaps colluded together to create this narrative of a top secret UFO Pentagon, program headed by Luis Elizondo. At one point, didn't he say that he ran that program for 10 years? Now we know that wasn't true.
Wow.
So my question is, how can the
Well, first of all, there was no program. It was an activity. an unfunded activity. You know, programs need funding. There was no funding. So Lue Elizondo himself said, don't call it a program, call it an activity. And it's also interesting to note that Lue Elizondo, in his IG complaint, you know, people ask me about, well, what is his motive in all of this, Lue Elizondo? I believe that at least part of his motive was generating lots and lots of money, right? Because even in the IG complaint that Lue Elizondo filed, he says, you guys at the Pentagon are making it very difficult for me to earn a living for me and my family. So what he's saying there is, I'm trying to earn a living telling people that I was the director of a top secret Pentagon UFO program that we now know didn't exist, right? Geez, I don't know what's going on. There's all kinds of sirens. And I want to apologize to the audiophiles. I'm here on my patio. We're still transitioning to a new streaming studio. I'm going to mute myself and we'll play a little more of this.
This be so mucked up in this muddy watered mess on whether or not this was a UFO program or not.
Their own stories don't line up. Never mind.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And it's not just semantics, because some might say, well, if they're just recollecting a story, it might be a memory lapse. I'm talking about hardcore facts on the basic objectives of what AATIP was, when the name was created, when the project started. I mean, when you've got two people that work on the same exact project and they work together in the private sector, and they're asking you for your money so they can invest in space planes and, take the next step with UFO research, which is great. I wish them all the best of luck. But when you are doing that and you can't get your story to align, in my opinion, that's a huge issue. And that's something that we need to address. Might be easy answers. I've always been open to that.
Yeah. So as back to Lue Elizondo's IG complaint, he basically says in it, you guys at the Pentagon contradicting my fake stories that I've been telling the major media and alt media. You're making it hard for me to make a living for me and my family. I believe that statement in his own writing makes it very clear that when Lue Elizondo left the Pentagon, he intended on fully making his full-time living off of UFOs. And the Pentagon contradicting his stories, telling people he didn't run the program didn't exist. Now we know it wasn't a program, it was a nickname for another program. And by the time that nickname popped up, it was an unfunded program. And we have the Skinwalkers at the Pentagon book by Lukatsky and George Knapp that largely contradicts all of Lue Elizondo's stories that he originally told. And now Lue Elizondo is desperately trying to, do damage control. Look, I got a letter from a dead senator that was involved in what may be a scam to give his buddy $20+ million with a no-bid sweetheart deal contract. And he said I ran the program that the rest of the people at the Pentagon said does not exist. The dead man defense, that's what I call it. It's the dead man defense. So I'm going to share one more thing about that dead man defense. And this is from Stephen Greenstreet. Stephen Greenstreet tweeted, I don't consider Senator Reid a reliable source, as he's changed his story previously and played loose with facts. I consider Citizen Reid an even less reliable source. Also, another letter from Senator Reid contradicts this letter from Citizen Reid. So Senator Reid says one thing in a letter about Lue Elizondo, right? And he says something completely different. Look here in another, he calls it an unclassified nickname. It wasn't a program. It was an unclassified nickname for another program. Yeah, and I would tend to agree with people. I don't think that, holding up a letter from your friend, the senator who's dead, who was highly suspiciously involved in the transfer of these funds from him to his longtime campaign contributor, Bob Bigelow is a credible source of information. So I would challenge Lue Elizondo. Let's see a letter from a living senator that will confirm that you ran the Pentagon's top secret UFO program. Let's see additional provers. If you truly ran the government's top secret Pentagon UFO program, you should be able to get a former boss, somebody within the Pentagon that was a co-worker. Somebody should be able to show us what you actually investigated, what you actually did. Now, John from the Black Vault and others have gotten employment records that show clearly UFOs was never his full-time responsibility. Never. That wasn't his job at the Pentagon, but he misled everybody. He embellished things and pretended, I suppose, that he ran a UFO program for the United States government. I would call lying and saying that you ran a program that you never ran. And then remember, he's accepting money right now to do UFO conferences. He's accepting money for a book about his adventures running a UFO Pentagon program that we now know does not exist. He's accepting money for all of these things. Speaking at UFO conferences, right? He's taking the money. And how did he get to that money? By embellishing, by overstating things, by purposefully misleading, by pretending he ran a program that he never ran. I would consider that a form of fraud, but that's, my opinion, and I'm entitled to it. I'm not a law enforcement officer. I'm, not a prosecutor, but I believe that there should be an incredible amount of more scrutiny on this man, Lue Elizondo, as he goes forth and continues, right? Because listen, this is exactly, I can tell you right now, exactly what's going to happen next. Lue Elizondo's house of cards is coming crashing down. It's crashing down. So what he's got to do is he's got to do the damage control, and he's got to run around and try to grab every UFO dollar that he can before it all comes crashing down. He's got to grab every UFO dollar that he can before nobody will be willing to pay him to listen to him talk about UFOs and the UFO investigations that he never, ever did for the United States government. Now, in fairness, maybe Lue Elizondo had an interest in UFOs. He knew about AATIP. He knew about the nickname of the program. Maybe in his spare time, sitting there at a desk at the Pentagon, he looked some things up. We certainly know that he authorized the release of UFO videos. And by the way, those videos are terrible. They prove nothing. I think that what may have happened is that he was sitting there. He's interested in UFOs. He talks to other guys within the Pentagon that are interested in UFOs. Eventually, he has enough juice to find these videos and release these 3 videos. And some would say that was, I've heard people describe that as not legal, what he did, because after all, that's government property. He authorized the release of it. It wasn't supposed to be for the public. It was supposed to be for, I believe, training purposes or something like that. That's why it was declassified. Suddenly, somebody runs out to the parking lot to Chris Mellon, another TTSA person, and TTSA runs with those videos. And Lue Elizondo, Tom DeLonge, and all these other people profit from those 3 government videos for years now. It's all very, if not illegal, it's all very shady. And the same goes for TTSA. If it's not illegal, it's very shady, and it should be. And the fact that Tom DeLonge is right now running around soliciting investors for his failed company that's, what, $50 million in debt? The fact that he's allowed to just screw the first 2 rounds of investors out of every penny of their money and then just ask for more investors, I don't understand it. I think it's shady as hell, and that's where I'm at. And this is where we find ourselves. We find ourselves at a place where it would appear, my friends, it would definitely appear that the TTSA Lue Elizondo PSYOP House of Cards is falling. And what I predict is more damage control from Lue Elizondo. What's he? Oh, he's suspiciously to me, maybe not coincidentally, he's taking a break from social media. Yeah, just as the heat gets turned up and more revelations of how much he lied and misled people come to light, he is suddenly going to take a break from social media. Well, and from doing podcasts. But by the way, who cares if he doesn't do podcasts anymore? Because he only did the UFO fan podcasts that he knew would lick his asshole and not ask him about any of the things and not ask him any of the questions I'm asking tonight. Did you know that Lue from Unidentified Celebrity Review, who, by the way, he's the guy who has a slave labor force working for him. What has he got? 4 or 5 people work for him for free, and he keeps all the money from the show. He interviewed Lue Elizondo 7 times. Did you hear these questions that John from the Black Vault and Dark Journalists were asking 3 years ago? Lou Angeles from Unidentified Celebrity Review didn't ask Lue Elizondo about any of that. None of it. He got 14 hours, I think, right? I don't know if they were all 2-hour interviews, but I think they were. So that would mean that Lou from UCR with his slave labor force, right? He's got his slave sweatshop going. Everybody's, making graphics for him, I guess doing videos for him, making music for him, co-hosting with him. They're all working for him for absolutely for free, because he's got slave labor. And by the way, I'm supposed to compete with a guy who's got 5 slaves. I don't think that shit's fair. Why don't you pay your people? I got a 5-year-old working for me, and even he gets paid. But anyway, my point about him, Lue Elizondo is not doing podcasts anymore, but who cares? Because he did 7 appearances with weak fanboy ass lickers like Lou Angeles from Unidentified Celebrity Ass Licker Show, Celebrity Review, whatever. And Lou Angeles did such a piss poor job doing 7 interviews with Lue Elizondo. He just let him off the hook on all of this stuff. That should be remembered. Those people like Richard Dolan, like Jimmy Church, like Christina Gomez, like Lou Angeles, like Calling All Beings, and so many others that did the UFO circle jerk with Lue Elizondo, we all should hold them accountable for this problem that we're in now. They all fell right in line with this PSYOP, with this counterintelligence op, whatever it is, or let's just say with this attempt to profit from the UFO community. What did all these people do? Jimmy Church, Christina Gomez, Lou from UCR, the Pfister idiot. What did they all do? They sat there and licked Lue Elizondo's asshole, right? Get right in there. Lick it real good. Get in there. Lick it real good, you dummies, because you fell for it. You jumped right in line with that spoon-fed narrative that he fed everybody from the New York Times to Jimmy the Slimeball Church to failed actor, finally found a spotlight, Lou from Unidentified Celebrity Review, right? That guy got 14 hours to interview him. Didn't ask him. Oh, he did. He didn't ask him one hard question, but his so-called skeptic, rather be squidding, did ask one hard question, and Lou lost his goddamn mind because they dared to ask one real question out of the 14 hours of interviews, right? This is the cesspool slime show that I am somehow here. I'm here, and I'm all chips in on this thing. I can't, what am I going to do? I have thought, I'm going to go start covering true crime or something, because this shit is slimy. And the fact that these assholes like Richard Dolan, like Jimmy Church, like Lou from UCR, like Christina Gomez, who was handed her platform by Jimmy Church, they all get to do the UFO circle jerk with Lou and get tons of subscribers if you just lick Lue Elizondo's asshole and go with the PSYOP narrative that he's been pushing, you get subscribers, you get more fans, you get more money, right? If you actually ask tough or hard questions, you get penalized. You lose subscribers, you make less money. So the message really is, don't do any work, don't ask hard questions, just go along with this Lue Elizondo PSYOP narrative. We have seen at the top of the show tonight that Lue literally admitted that he was asked to use his counterintelligence skills on the UFO community. And what a great job he's doing. He's running around calling people in the UFO community felons, whether they are or not. You know, he's calling his critics mentally unstable, whether they are or not. Some would argue that people asking real questions and not falling for the PSYOP are more mentally stable than the UFO circle jerk crew. But this is where we're at. And this is where we find ourselves, right? And I'm supposed to compete with that. Like, I'm just supposed to be okay with, I'm going to lose money because I did my job the right way. It is my job to ask the hard questions. It is all our job to ask the hard questions. Oh, I want to welcome to the show. I'm sorry, I tried, the chat's going wonky tonight. And actually, I think I figured out what it is. There's so many more people lately that it's very difficult for me to put each one up on the screen. So I apologize. Welcome to the show. Thank you for your kind and generous 99-cent super sticker, 99 pence, I guess. He's English. Nice to have a friend here from over the pond. Longtime show supporter, welcome to the show. Thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. There are people who appreciate people like me who have integrity. Hey, Lou from UCR, why don't you try having integrity? Right? Why don't you try paying the people that are working for you for free? Why don't you try splitting them off some of that money and stop being a slime ball and just taking it all? And by the way, Lou from UCR, I heard that you're going to be hosting the launch of that UAP NFT blockchain thing. And I've been looking into that. And boy, you might want to reconsider that shit, because if you think I've been critical of you so far, wait till you host the launch of that shit show. Doesn't look good. Doesn't look real good. And maybe, just maybe, Lou from Unidentified Celebrity Review is okay with not asking hard questions when people like Jimmy Church come on his show or Lue Elizondo come on his show. You know, people that are doing scammy shit. Maybe he's okay with not asking people that are doing scammy shit hard questions, because he might be up to his own scammy shit soon. And I mean more scammy than having 5 slaves work for you that you don't pay, right? But let's not forget, I'm not very funny. And he could see how I could be a felon based on my behavior, right? That's what he said. Well, there's some people on that list I could see being a felon based on their behavior. What behavior? He said something before that, like, I yell and scream or something like that, and he doesn't like my delivery. You know, that's a valid criticism, but I'm passionate. And when I see people ripping people off here, I get animated, I get pissed off, and I call people out. You sit there like a dummy and play circle jerk, right? You circle jerked Lue Elizondo for 14 hours straight. You circle jerked Lue Elizondo for so many hours that your hand must hurt still to this day, dude. So don't you start your shit saying that, oh, you don't like my delivery. I don't like yours. I don't like you sitting there like a dumbass with Christina Gomez acting like she's great. And she didn't do anything slimy. Her co-host isn't slimy. I'm not going to ask her about her slimy co-host and all the slimy shit Jimmy Needs Church has done. I'm just going to sit here like a dummy and smile and talk. I'm going to do zero investigative work. I'm going to do zero research on my guest. In fact, I'm just going to copy and paste questions from my audience from the Discord an hour before I have to interview somebody, because I'm too lazy to actually research a guest and ask, write down my own questions. Then I'm going to get co-hosts. They can ask some of the other questions because I'm too lazy to do a whole interview by myself. That shit's hard. Lazy Lou from UCR doesn't like my delivery. I don't like his. I don't like his approach. I don't like him using people to succeed. You know how slimy it is to just say, you know what, I'm just going to have 3 to 5 people work for me for free so that I could get ahead of my competition. And then he's going to give people show advice, right? He gave Rich from Goof On a whole bunch of advice. And Rich could be more successful if he just did it Lue's way, right? I guess Rich, you're going to need a slave labor force to compete equally. And by the way, Rich is only a little bit behind him. And granted, Lue from UCR has twice my subscribers, but he got there by cheating. He cheated by having a slave labor force work for him for free for all this time. And he cheated by doing the UFO circle jerk. And he cheated by not asking his guests hard questions. He played the game to win, right? Let's just sit here, let these guests say anything, get all these UFO celebrities on here and just give them all a pass. Let them say whatever they want. Don't do any research. Yeah, he doesn't like my delivery. I don't like his lack of integrity. I don't like him using people to get ahead. Pay the people that work for you, you slime ball. Why don't you get up off your ass and just do the show yourself if you can't afford to pay people? How long are all those people going to work for you for free? How long are you going to keep all the money from your show and make people work for nothing for you? Patrick Sheehan, with a kind and generous $9.99 super chat, says, stay slime free, Stephen. I'm doing my very best, Patrick, and thank you. Longtime show supporter. Always happy to see you, Patrick, in the live chat, holding down the live chat, helping, to keep things going here. I appreciate it immensely. And we have Area 503 sending $5.03, says, Stephen, keeping it real. Love it, dude. Well, thank you very much, Manny from Area 503. And by the way, I didn't get to know Manny until more recently, but I'm pretty sure that Manny was also one of the good alt researchers that was asking the right questions. You can check out his film, Who's Lue, and also Who's TTSA. He knocked it out of the park, I think, with both of them, even though, you know what, Manny, Lazy Lou from UCR said your movie was terrible, right? You should have had 5 slaves editing it better. That's what you needed, Manny from UCR. You need it in order to compete with Lazy Lou from UCR that needs 5 slaves. You needed 5 slaves to help you edit it, and put more parts in it, make it a little more dynamic. You know, that's what you needed to do. You needed to have 5 slaves like Lazy Lou from UCR, and then your film would have been worth watching, according to him. Because, you know, he's an actor and a comedian, and he's a filmmaker. He was in one episode of The Mentalist, and he may have just been like an extra. I don't know. I didn't, go look for it. But I used to watch The Mentalist. I don't remember ever seeing him. So, and he was in some shitty movie in 2010. But he's a film critic now, and he's a filmmaker and a comedian and an actor, and he knows about film. And your film sucks, Manny from Area 503. But thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support. Go get your slave labor force before that next film drops, right? Before you drop your next film, get your 5 slaves, 3 to 5 slaves like Lou from UCR, and then you'll be able to compete with him better, Manny. You'll be able, you'll have a much better product because you have the slave labor force doing all of that hard work for you. Because why should you do it yourself? Just be like Lazy Lou, right? By the way, Manny, Lou from UCR, he made both of those films completely and totally by himself. He didn't have 5 people helping him. He didn't have a slave labor force he refused to pay, right? No, he didn't. He did it all himself. So you might not like his film, but I respect him more than I respect a slime ball like you, right? He did it all himself. Maybe he could have done many things better, but he did the best he could as a solo act. You ought to try that. Stop taking advantage of 3 to 5 people, making them all work for free while you keep all the money like a slime ball. Get up off your ass and do your show yourself until you can afford to pay for help. That's the way it's supposed to work. And, no offense to the people working for him for free, but they're stupid. Why would you invest all that time and energy so that some slime ball could keep all the money being generated? He's using you. Quit. He's using you. Quit. Go do your own thing and keep the money. Put your time and energy into your own thing. Do you know what it means if you work for Lou from Unidentified Celebrity Review for free? Do you know what it means that he's not willing to pay you? He's saying that your time, your energy, and your passion that you're contributing to his project is worthless to him. It is worthless to him. He's telling you, you are worth exactly what I am paying you. Nothing. And that's ridiculous. And it's also ridiculous that this dumbass is going to run around and give people show advice. We all need slaves. That's what we got to do to be successful. Hey, man, I'm going to get some slaves. We're taking applications. Email truthseekershow@gmail.com. I need a video editor, a bumper producer, a graphics guy, a musician. I need some co-hosts. I think we may have one already. But see, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to be honest with my audience about my slaves. I'm going to make my slaves wear like collars and chains and shit. That's what I'm going to do so that it's very obvious that I have slaves working for me. He tries to hide it, but he slipped up and admitted he keeps all the money. Nobody else gets paid, right? Oh, gotta love it. Gotta love this slimy shit in this community. But you know what? I think Lue from UCR is showing his true colors. He's hanging around with the biggest slime ball in this entire field, Jimmy Church, who, by the way, has platformed more scammers and scuzzballs and douchebags than anybody, right? Go look at my report on David Wilcox's latest live stream, Lue from UCR. Jimmy Church is who brought us, promoted, pumped up, worked all these conferences with David Wilcox, the fraud that is right now telling people that the Archangel Michael is telling him to lay in a bathtub of his own piss so he could get superpowers. Jimmy Church brought us that guy. Jimmy Church platformed him, interviewed him a whole bunch of times, worked with him a whole bunch of times. Corey Good, Emery Smith, all proven frauds. Jimmy Church pumped up and promoted them. And Jimmy Church comes on your show, and what do? You smile and talk about some bullshit television show. You don't ask him about any of the slimy people that he has pushed and pushed and pushed into this community to profit. You just sit there because you're lazy Lou. It's awesome. I'm going to start being lazy Steve, right? I'm just going to drink, make my slaves do all the shit for me, right? Once in a while, I'll say some shit, right? I don't understand this slimy world I find myself in. But this is where we're at, and this is where we find ourselves. I want to thank Manny and Patrick, and welcome to the show, and all the other kind and generous benefactors and supporters. We appreciate you helping us praise the cash.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
Did you see that, Lazy Lou from Unidentified Celebrity Review? That's a 5-year-old, my 5-year-old, that works for me. Now, I could be a slime ball and just tell him, you're going to work for free. You eat, don't you? Right? I could do that. I could say, you know what? You eat and you got a bedroom and there's a roof over your head. Get in that clown suit. No, I'm teaching my son about the value of money and the value of work and how you have to work for things. I even pay a 5-year-old on my show, dude. You don't pay grown adults, and I'm here paying a 5-year-old? Maybe that's what I'm doing wrong. Forget that 5-year-old. I'm going to tell him later. He's going to be one of the new slaves. I'm not paying him shit no more because Lazy Lou from Unidentified Celebrity Review gets away with not paying anybody. I should too. All right. We've gone off on quite a tangent here, but you know what? Sometimes it's good to get things off your chest. It really is sometimes good to get things off your chest. Oh, I missed another one. Did I miss one? Maybe not. All right, I'm gonna do something real quick here, just to make sure I don't miss anybody. By the way, there's a few ways you can support our show, and one of the best ways is to just throw money at us. We love that here very, very much. And there's instructions. You can do a PayPal donation. And the instructions to do that are in the description of the video. Yeah, impersonator Saminium. Let me see if I can find that. I couldn't find that. I could not find it for some reason, and it vanished from the live chat. So weird. But you know what? I'm just gonna put. Oh, there we go. Imperster Saminium, BGN, kind and generous, $10 super chat, no message. Well, thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. Much, much appreciated. Thank you very, very much. Okay, so look, I kind of feel like I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish, mostly which was to remind people that there are some scummy ass people in this so-called UFO community. I love how people call it a community. It's not a community. There's a big club of people that are lying, cheating, and stealing from people here to make money. And we've talked about some of them. I mean, we've got literally, you got show hosts using slave labor and fucking people and, you know, not paying people so that they can keep all the money. That is slimy as shit. We've got Jimmy Church. I don't even want to get started on Jimmy Church and all the slimy shit he does. We had Richard Dolan interviewing a dead man. We had Linda Moulton Hale selling people a video game cover, claiming it was a genuine gray alien picture taken on the moon, and more. The slimy shit in this, it's not a community. There's a big club of scammy, slimy people, and they all, it's a big club, and I ain't in that club, right? I am not in that club. It's unfortunate, but that's the truth, and that's the truth that nobody will tell you about. Impersonator Seminium, see our recent video. We did a whole breakdown. David Wilcock claims that the Archangel Michael told him that he has to lay in a bathtub and piss in it and put lavender oil in it or something, and then he'll get superpowers. It's crazy, right? Oh, Complizaire, I apologize again. Actually, let me see if it'll let me. Hold on 1 second. I apologize to the PayPal donators. Let me see if we could do that right now. I'm on a new device, so sometimes it, like, you know. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, it's going to let me. Great. We'll call out the PayPal right now. Oh, here we go. Okay. Wow, look at this. Lots and lots of very generous people. We have Richard, who says, thank you for entertaining me with your work, especially over these past 4 days. I did a deep dive on your channel while I laid in bed with COVID. Laugh out loud. Well, Richard, get some rest, Rockstar. I'm sorry to hear that you came down with the dreaded virus. But I hope that you got the mild one and you are feeling much, much better, right? And I'm glad that you could find us. I love finding a channel that I really like when I have time to veg. I hope you had time to really have a good time. I'm glad to have that back catalog there for people in your situation. And thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support with a kind and generous $20 pledge. We've got Dorothy Hawkins with a kind and generous $2 pledge. Dorothy says, I don't know why, but super chats don't work. Well, they work for most people, so I'm not quite sure what happened. And we have Complizaire with a kind and generous $20 who says, hey, Stephen, you should get Dark Journalist plus Alien Scientist plus Goofon on one XXL episode. Take this $20 for beers and $1 for Lue Elizondo's book, because that's about all it's going to be worth. Trash retrieval and lying saucers. Thank you, Complizaire. Long-time show supporter. Boy, he's been there with me for years, since the midnight hour. Glad to see you here in the live chat. Glad to have your support. And I decided something too. Going forward, I'm going to call when somebody sends some money our way pledges. It doesn't feel right to say donation. We're not a church. I'm not a charity. I pay taxes on the money. So we're going to say pledges going forward, or super chats. And I want to thank all you kind of generous Patreon supporters as well. The outpouring of support is great. You know, every once in a while I'm feeling down going, there's another show host that has slave labor that I'm supposed to compete with a guy that's got 5 slaves. That ain't fair. And I can't afford to pay 5 people. So I just do it myself for the most part. You know, my son helps me. Occasionally somebody will send in something that I would consider like fan art and we play it. William, for example, doing those UFOs Got Talent. You know, I'm gonna have to send him some PayPal to keep him doing that. And so I get discouraged sometimes, and then I look at this outpouring of generosity and support and how everybody wants me to continue doing this. And by the way, Oh, Richard became a patron tonight. Congratulations, new patron member. And there's another thing that everybody can do. You can now become a member. And listen, you guys are gonna have to give me this month, give me a pass on this month. I'm trying my best. We're trying to integrate I think I figured out how to do it, but we're trying to integrate the members with the PayPal benefits. And as soon as I get it figured out, there's a members section here, and you guys can sign up for as little as or for $5 a month, and you become a member. And once you're a member, you also get the PayPal benefits. So I want to give a shout out to all our channel members. Carolyn Barnett is a Praise the Cash member. Andy Carter is a Praise the Cash member. Frapsap is a Praise the Cash member. Annie Kurtz is a Praise the Cash member. Baba Williamson is a Praise the Cash member. Gary Arnold is a Praise the Cash member. Oh, this one's a tough one. Fern Ambulax is a Praise the Cash member. Reload is a Praise the Cash member. And Sidvich is a Praise the Cash member. Thanks to all of our kind and generous members that became a member for $5 a month to our channel here. I've just figured it out. So now this is what happens. PayPal's $1 or more a month. Don't sign up for both. Be one or the other. If you're feeling generous, become a member, because if you're a member, I'm going to post all the PayPal videos and donation or benefits to the members section of our channel here that only members will get to see. Yeah. Solar Marshall says, Goofon, I hope you tell Lou the slob off next time. Why didn't you? I have no idea. Oh no. Let's try to refrain from well, I called him Lazy Lou, so you calling him a slob is not much worse, right? Lazy Lou, Lazy Slob Lou, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, and in total transparency, I was very pissed off at that guy for releasing that list, because I literally had a family member, who's into conspiracies. He saw that and called me and wanted to know if I got arrested or something and didn't tell him. And all these people are messaging me, asking me if I'm a felon, right? It just doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense to me that he would release that list with my name on it that talks about felons and not redact my name if I was not one of the felons. But he put it out there. Thanks, Lazy Lou. I really appreciate that. So maybe getting the business from me, you earned it, right? But I'm kind of over it. I forgive him for that. I don't forgive him for having slaves work for him for free. I think that's slimy as shit. And actually, it's not up to me to forgive him for that. It's up to the people that he's using and abusing to forgive him for that. So that's all I got for you, friends. Solar Marshall's still talking about Lou the Slob. All right, I'm going to bounce on out of here, friends. Listen, what can I say? Also, I want to just remind everybody that the new show schedule is as follows. Everybody's telling me I have to have a schedule. I have to be consistent. And they're right. When I've consistently done shows at the same time and everybody knows what the schedule is, the views are much, much higher and we do better. So I'm going to try my very best to do that. And that means that there will be shows Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night at 9 p.m. That's 3 shows a week. Now, there's a caveat to that. I will also be releasing some premiere videos, some midnight hour show, classic episodes, and also I will be possibly doing additional live shows. But my commitment is at least 3 shows. Now, Monday's tough for me. Just get back from the cabin and all that stuff. But if I'm feeling up to it and I have something good to share with you, I'll do a show Monday at 9 p.m. My point is, during the week, 9 p.m. Weekends, I have no idea, but I will try to do at least 3 shows. I'm committing I will do at least 3 shows, maybe more, and there will be some other stuff thrown in every week to sort of round out things. So that's what I got for you for tonight. I want to thank Dark Journalist, and I want to thank John from the Black Vault, and Manny, Area 503, Rich from Goofon, maybe Cal Korf, Walter Bosley, and a few other people, members of the alt media, who were not fooled by this by this counterintelligence clown, Lue Elizondo, that did ask the right question, even if they had to, pay a price for asking those questions instead of profiting like everybody else, right? How much did Lue from UCR profit from Elizondo? We should go through. I should go through and add up all of his views and see how much money he made softball interviewing, licking the asshole of Lue Elizondo 7 times. We know for a fact that he got 2,500 subs one of those months. A quarter of his subs came from one of those months that he interviewed Lue Elizondo. Must be nice to just get 20. Must be nice, man. Must be nice. That's why I call him Lazy Lou, because why work for your subs if Lue Elizondo can just hand them to you? Or Jimmy Church can just hand them to you, kind of like Jimmy Church handed all those subs to Christina Gomez, your buddy, right? Yeah, I'm trying to I'm trying to not be disgusted by all of this, right? I'm trying to just laugh at it because it really is funny the lengths that some of these people are willing to go to, the slime ball nature of some of this stuff. It's just, I don't get it. All right. Trying to find my outro bumper. No idea. Jeez, I hope I didn't delete it by accident. There we go. All right, so that's all I got for you. Listen, I'm going to the cabin tomorrow. Depending on how things go there, I may do a stream sometime during the weekend from the cabin. If not, I will see you guys next week. Until next time, friends, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you.